Welcome back. Now, we'll give you a sense of how the market has performed in just a moment or two. But for now, though, let's go straight to our analyst for the day. We're joined then by Saki Zamkaka, who is the director at ZARX, and he joins us then today. Saki, thank you so much for the time. Really a lot happening across the day. We had that discussion with MTN. I don't know how much more of that interview you caught as well, divesting out of that Middle Eastern region. Are you surprised at all by that move?
Thank you, Abel. I don't think it's surprising a bit. I did catch a bit of the interview. And I think, he's underplaying the Iran issue. And I think it's a big one because with sanctions, it makes it really difficult for any business that's international to operate because most banks are not going to want to environment really becomes very difficult for a business, not only just to repatriate cash, but to also even invest. So I think naturally it was likely to be a difficult market. And I think Syria has generally been making a small contribution into their market. So I think over time, and especially where MTN has been one of the dominant players in any market that it's been in, where the earnings don't seem to be doing much, I think they were bound to get to a point where they are reviewing it. So I think those countries, in terms of their own stability, were likely candidates for any company as big as MTN to consider getting out of.
Yeah. If they get out of that, though, how does it bode for the rest of the continent, you feel? Ralph did make note that Africa becomes their main focus. Do you think it stays that way for some time?
Yeah. I think it will, and I think there's no choice for anyone who's serious about growth. Africa as a continent has a serious growth potential. If you look at us as part of the continent, on the telecoms environment, voice, there's been a lot of growth. But I think as we're seeing the world now moving a lot more into data, there's a lot of growth potential in South Africa and a lot of growth potential everywhere else. But some markets like the Nigeria market are battling on growth, which is a big thing. South Africa is battling on growth, but East Africa seems to be continuing and performing pretty well. So I think the two big markets, Nigeria and South Africa, are likely, as we're seeing in the results, to be doing well on data, but their growth prospects are becoming a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, also, those operations out of Jumia, that tech giant there as well, still not something that MTN themselves are actually liking. In a sense, it's non-core to their business, so selling off really to pay down a whole lot of their debt. So I guess it really kind of makes sense in some way. Let's move away from that just a little bit then, Saki, as well. The gold price has gone up quite dramatically, still sitting high as well. $2,052 a fine ounce. That gold story gets better and better. And the mining companies locally are absolutely loving it.
So gold going up in terms of the financial markets is always generally a bit of a worrying trend because it tends to tell you at times where the minds of investors are. Gold, because it's one of those things that has been around for centuries, there is a sense that it is a safe haven. The stocks of gold are pretty much managed. It's had a store of value over many years, even before we got to fiat currency. So generally, financial markets always see it as a safer and defensive investment to make when there's uncertainty in the market. And if you go on a topic completely different, I read today that the Bank of England is starting to have discussions about negative interest rates. Now, that gives you a sense of the fact that in other instruments in the financial sector, there's likely not to be yields for a very long time. If Europe is starting to have those kinds of discussions. We've seen that even with the US, there was a little bit of hope that maybe after summer things are going to improve. And as you can see, the uncertainty brought by Corona is making everyone edgy about what the future really brings. But of course, a country like us, which is a big gold producer, that means a lot for gold producers, but also with a little bit of the depreciation in the currency, also the margins are improving. So for the gold sector, in terms of production, it's really a good time for them to be selling. But if you look at the health of the financial sector, it's a little bit of a worrying trend. It could potentially be an indicator that the markets are not really convinced that the world has a good grapple of corona, and that there maybe is even a better story about what's going to happen post-corona.
Yeah. Look, as you say, it's good news, I suppose, for the gold price and some miners, but the financial sector, certainly a big worry there. Of course, inflation issues, also the Fed, and whether the United States will be able to bring in another stimulus package for that economy still remains to be seen. Look, there are a whole lot of factors we could have spoken about. Of course, even the rand seemingly getting some sort of weakness with the dollar strengthening over some time. Unfortunately, Saki, we have run over time, but really appreciate your insights as well there. Saki Zamxaka is the director at ZARX, and he joins us there to unpack this market picture this Thursday. My colleague, though, Mbongeni Mutwa, is standing